What's your opinion with what a Republican is versus a Democrat?
Well, I think most Republicans, like you say, believe in the Constitution, believe in individual freedom, responsibility, versus, Democrats tend to want to start from government solving the issue or the ailment or trying to create a mechanism by which people play fair or end up with a specific outcome. Each person, was given talents from God, and those talents, need to be nurtured and brought to the forefront for the individual. And the only way they can do that is through their own having their own freedom to explore those talents and see what they can bring to the table and how they can help solve some of the problems that society has.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's the rest of the world that saw America as the beacon of hope, that they left their controlled government system to come here and get their freedom so they can breathe and they can explore their own talents.
Yep.
And as we see that, get taken away with more and more restrictions, we become so much like the other nations that we're not there anymore. We're not unique.
Yeah, I would probably say that while America is still going to be, everybody's hope and dream, that's where you can go to make it if you want to be a pop star or whatever. The biggest thing is that, like you say, as we kind of pile on the regulations or pile on the rules or pile on these top-down things for education or whatever the topic is, some of those freedoms are lost, and so you're not seeing probably as many people migrating to the United States as you probably would to explore those freedoms.
And if somebody wants to be a pop star too, they're the most suicidal, drug-induced, unhappy people there are.
Yeah.
So.
Probably not a great example, but
I just thought I'd throw that out there because it's very true. People sometimes they want to be. There's too much TV. There's too much of that pop culture, and I think that's really dissecting into our political system. As a matter of fact, I think one job you could have that's more powerful than the president, I think, is being in the media. Being
Sure.
I
think because you can reach people in the media in different ways, the advent of, the explosion of internet usage, things like that, this show will be not only available over the air, but through the internet. And I think that people get a lot of information now from diverse sources.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that, even say being a Republican, you would say like, well, that's good, because I don't have a problem with, someone going out and finding out information about anything out there and learning, and then being able to use that knowledge, hopefully in a productive, good manner for themselves.
They use the First Amendment to promote pornography, say pornography's just fine. It's a freedom of expression, yet they use the First Amendment to stifle any religious speech, even though that's a distortion of the Constitution. It's freedom of religion that Congress or even the executive branch cannot stop the freedom of religion, and it's not freedom from religion. And somehow they've been successful in changing that little prepositional word.
Yeah, I think like you said, Republicans believe that the Constitution is a rock that you build things on top of.
Yeah.
Whereas the Democratic Party Democrats might believe it's a the living, breathing thing that we need to always update, change, interpret its meanings, and somehow think that the founding fathers had no idea about what society was going to face, 200, 300 years from now. But the principles set forth in the Constitution are pretty clear, and I think those are the kinds of things that, will always be steadfast regardless of, the turmoil and everything that goes around. Hopefully, the Oregon State Republican Party platform is driving towards something like that, where it will be able to be something that's steadfast and, speaks to the simple simple heart of
Yeah.
a person and bring out the best in all those people. So,
Yeah. Well, it's a platform like this that gives me hope and a kind of a breath of fresh air for the tyranny we're seeing going on right now in the government. Since some people are concerned about the fiscal issues, why don't we talk about the economics in the party platform? And the platform tends to be conservative fiscally and then conservative socially. So we're just going to talk about those two separately.
Okay. First, like you say, the fiscal aspect. I think a lot of people, not just Republicans, kind of understand the fiscal aspect of you can't spend more than you take in, kind of deal about, you got to balance your own checkbook. Why can't government balance its checkbook? I think the biggest deal first and foremost you'll find in the platform is the economy. One thing that we added this year was the emphasis on individual title, property, title control. So when a person actually acquires property, real property, that they actually own that real property. And that is a cornerstone to one of their individual freedoms, is that property that they own. Given that, the only way to move through a system like that is to believe in free markets and capitalism. Let those that, do good succeed. Those that fail will fail, and not offer, a government handout, in the case of a Solyndra or something like this, that will prop a company up for a temporary period of time. So I think that's good. There's, obviously, like we said, there's the economy section. There's actually a whole section on government spending and regulations this year. That came out. They're more of statements of purpose, There isn't any subdividing bullet points where we need to differentiate topics, but the idea was to say, hey, government spending is out of control. We need to live within our means. And that's it kind of ties back to, the Constitution in that, we will only indebt ourselves to what we need to secure the nation, not, to run big government welfare programs, entitlements, and things like this. So we need to kind of return to those kinds of mechanisms to say, yeah, we're going to, spend tax dollars, but we need to do it more responsibly.
And the other way is where you hear the word earmarks, isn't that right? Where the earmarks are really special interests?
Yeah, you get a lot of that at you get some of that at the state level. A lot of that's done at the federal level to try to return some of the tax base that's left the state and gone to the federal government for no other reason than to enable a federal apparatus to send money back to the state. A great example of that is like education, how much money goes out of the state to the federal government for educational purposes to be turned around and sent back to the state. There's a lot of money that leaves a state or local economy in tax dollars that needs to return. Well, if you sent $1 out, you're not going to get $1 back in. So that right there kind of deflates or depreciates the actual value of saying, hey, we need to spend more on roads, we need to spend more on education. Well, how do you propose to spend more? Because money is already being shifted up to the federal level and back down. What if we just cut out the middleman, so to speak, and we just actually use the money that we were given to actually fund education?
Local education.
At a local level and things like that.
Interesting. So if we had $2 and we gave $1 to the state for education, and then we gave $1 to the federal government for education, they take that money that should be used for education, and they'll say maybe 50 cents of it back, and the other 50 cents will go towards their pet projects that will boost their power.
Yeah, through, the Department of Education's got overhead, bureaucracy, things to run, programs to do. So they'll take your 50 cents out of your $1 that you send them and send the other 50 cents back out.